Hi, this is Marina from Darkstar Astrology, bringing you the full moon on November the 12th, which falls at 19 degrees of Taurus. It will be trine Pluto, and the healing crystal I chose was Chrysoprase. I think that's pronounced that way. And the fixed star is Rucha in constellation Cassiopeia. And the tarot card will be the Six of Pentacles. So with the moon in Taurus Decan 2, we can clearly see the exaltation of the moon here because it is exalted in Taurus because of the people who had this in their charts, and it is really about a clear connection to the collective unconsciousness. And Carl Jung and Edgar Cayce had this placement as well. So there really is an over-absorption of everything that is out there in the cosmos, seen and unseen, and from dimensions that may have a negative agenda. The moon can so easily be manipulated by these forces. So at this time, we can have difficulty discerning our own emotions from those around us. And really, you know, we're in the middle of, I guess it's kind of, this is Remembrance Sunday in the UK. I think it's usually around November the 11th. And it's also, it's the Day of the Dead. And it's always remembering the ancestors at this time because it is the darkest point of the year. I kind of said that with the last moon as well. But I think this is, the darkest it can get really. Or maybe it's the next moon. Well, yeah, it is the next moon, but all these moons really are about the underworld and the thinning of dimensions, or the thinning of the veil rather. So yeah, it's a very psychic time. Now, the sensitivity, of course, can work in a positive manner as well, where artistic types can pick up the mood of an audience and modulate its performance to fit. This is a sensuous and emphatic placement, so a great time for a massage as well, especially with Taurus too. And it really does, this decan in particular, does have healing hands and green fingers due to the mercurial influence. That's why I call it green with envy, but I'll get onto the envy side later on. So this is a very maternal and material decan, and the moon here adds yet more nurturing. Moon Taurus 2 makes fantastic hosts that throw lavish parties. So it is a good time for a party. And of course, we're coming into the Christmas party season as well. But we may pay for it the next day as this energy loves to indulge. Nevertheless, at this time, those touched by this full moon can have great business sense and attract pentacles to themselves like bees to honey. Mostly the moon tends to be happy in this decan and able to overcome the negative aspects of the more problematic fixed stars. The fertile well of songwriting here is seen in the Lennon-McCartney-Davidson, with the exalted moon making them so popular. In stark contrast, we have the Rose West and Fred West. They were serial killers in the UK, really gruesome. They used to sexually molest them and then they buried them in their garden, I think it was. Ugh. Anyway, so there Davidson has this, and the murdering couple had their moon just 6 minutes from Menkar, which is in the monster, well, the sea monster or the whale in its nicer term, but they also, just so that you know, it's not everybody that has this, but it all depends on the placement as well, obviously. So they had, it ruled their house of death, the moon, and it opposed a Scorpio stellium in the 12th house of self-undoing as well. Whereas with Lennon and McCartney, their first house ruling moon was totally unexpected and unhindered to work its magic in the 11th house, which made them popular, I guess, and its hopes and wishes, that house too. So it all depends on where it's placed. So I'll just give you some examples of the energy which we can sort of see in the people that have this. And you can see it's there are extremes as well. So Carl Jung, Mother Teresa, Edgar Cayce, so healers, Carlos Castaneda, Ronald Reagan, Karl Marx, so the politics there too, Oliver Stone, Meryl Streep, Lindsay Lohan, who else? Elton John, some singers here too, Diana Ross, Christina Aguilera, Yeah, that's about it really. Oh gosh, there's another one. Eva Braun and Hitler's Davidson. God. So yeah, so it seems to be sinner or saint, isn't it? Again, which is kind of the feel of this time of the year anyway. So the fixed star Rucha, let's find out more about that. So Manilus says that this constellation bids men to look for gold beneath the ground, uproot all which nature stealthily conceals, and turns earth upside down in search of gain. She bids them detect the treasure in lumps of ore, and finally, for all its reluctance, expose it to a sky that has never seen. So poetical. He goes on to say, he will make small weights to measure the tiny grains, or he will smelt lumps of silver, separating the hidden metal and causing the mineral to flow forth in a running stream. So I think that sounds like oil to me as well. Otherwise, he will become a trader of the metals produced by these two craftsmen, ever ready to change coinage of the one metal into wares of the other. So yeah, Mercury rules this decan and it makes these people canny merchants. So it does sound like the bankers, doesn't it, as well? So so yeah, because if you look at the chart, the moon is trine Pluto, so bankers here as well. So I guess we will be looking at material versus spiritual, the earth, preserving the earth versus exploiting it and mining it, and how to do it in the most respectful way, because the earth is here to give us her bounty, but it's like you don't do it in a greedy way. You always do it you don't exploit it, basically. It's like with any relationship you have, somebody wants to offer you everything because they love you, and I think the earth has a soul and it wants humans to thrive. It will keep offering, but if you exploit it, then it's going to make the earth, Mother Earth, sick. Now, this full moon is also opposite Mercury. I decided that Pluto was the more important one, so I emphasised that. But yes, it's also opposite Mercury retrograde, which is conjunct the Sun. So it does bring up the healing venom that I mentioned as well in the Mercury retrograde post. So they are very much connected. And so, of course, this moon is in Taurus, but it's opposite the Sun in Scorpio still. So we still have that Scorpio energy. Now, the tarot card as well is also about money and money lending. And this looks like sort of some kind of charity as well. But Teach Me Tarot say about this card that it's a card of extremes, of having, not having, domination, submission, superiority, inferiority, generosity, meanness, supporting, not being supported, being appreciated or being used, teaching or learning, hiring and firing. The list could go on and on. However, one of its strong traditional associated meanings is charity or patronage. After experiencing difficulties or finding yourself in a bind, usually financially, someone has stepped in to help out. So you could see how this card fits into the position of being a Svengali or stage mother as well, because that's the theme of this decan generally. And karmically, one will have to use one's material generosity genuinely and not as a means to control another. If you're on the receiving end, you will have to be careful not to lose your integrity, your artistic integrity. Selling yourself out can be very tempting with this. So let's look at the face of Taurus according to the Picatrix. It's a man with a body like a camel with cow's hooves on his fingers, and he's completely covered with a torn linen cloth. He desires to work on the land, sow and build. This is a face of nobility, power, and rewarding for the people. Sorry, that's the aeroplanes. You know what? Soon you will not have to put up with these anymore because I'll be moving. Anyway, yeah, but that's not yet. But I'll be so glad when I don't have to oh dear, I have to sort of speak over it. I don't know if you can hear it. Maybe the mic is good enough to get rid of it, but I think you can. So the healing crystal I chose was Chrysoprase. Maybe that's how you say it. Like so many green race stones, it has a strong connection to nature and to the elemental beings. It brings the gift of nature's growth and may connect you to Mother Gaia and to the earth spirits. So that's why I chose it. Green Chrysoprase brings out the energy of divine truth and a sense of justice, with the ability to release energy around you related to ego-based issues from the past. And that's by Healing Crystals for You. The New Crystal Bible by Cassandra Eason says it's excellent for problem solving and finding new approaches and angles for anyone in the media, publicity or advertising, and for writers of fiction to give both originality and realism. So again, that fits very well with Taurus Decan 2 with its Mercury rulership. Chrysoprase is a stone of fertility and renewal and has been used in aiding efforts to bring new life into a family, a community or an organisation. Chrysoprase can help you seek and find productivity, progress, prosperity, material success and advancement. It is a potent talisman for efforts directed at career advancement, and that's by Crystal Vaults. God, it's really bad, the aeroplanes today. What's going on? Anyway. Okay, so what am I going to talk about today? So the green with envy. Since I did mention Mother Earth, and there was the whole thing a couple of weeks ago with the Extinction Rebellion. So I don't know about that. And there was also the Gr3ta Thunb3rg thing as well. Now with those things, I just got so annoyed with them because maybe this is old news now, and maybe I did mention this before, I'm not sure, but the whole thing about toxicity in the environment, it's a battle every day. And if you're like me, really sensitive to things and like really sensitive to plastics and hairsprays, and all the makeup I use is, you know, not toxic and all that kind of stuff. You think the whole world is attacking you wherever you go. But anyway, the thing that I think this is a good time of year to sort of detox. I've been reading up on so many medical things at the moment, and it all boils down to the liver. And so yeah, it's a good time to do a liver detox. And but it's annoying me because I'm not sure whether these kind of fad diets work and people know what they're talking about, because everything contradicts. Like I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, and for me it's a big deal because voice is so important to me. But I've just had this sort of frog in my throat for so long, and it's to do with acid reflux. So I thought, okay, it's my diet, and I've given up all the things I love: wine, chocolate, tomatoes, you know, for an Italian, gluten, wheat, cheese. The only proteins I can have is prawns, well, not prawns, fish and chicken, but no other heavy acidic meats. So basically, I'm on a detox diet, and the first few days were awful. I had the worst headache, and it's not really made it any better, to be honest. So I don't know if anyone has any advice. Please feel free to let me know. But sorry, I don't really know what to talk about this week, because there's nothing really, there's everything to moan about and nothing to moan about, if you know what I mean. And because I'm so focused on health at the moment, it's hard to, I think this kind of acid thing must be saying something about, you know, things that I can't stomach. And so maybe I'm thinking of easing off being angry at the world, try and just heal myself for the moment. Yeah, according to the medical medium who I've been reading, he says that if your liver is fine and strong, then it can combat environmental toxins. So, and things like, you know, CO2 in the atmosphere as well. But then there's the chemtrails, and here's me moaning about the aeroplanes. I mean, God, that could be it as well. But the thing is, then I just thought, am I going to be worried about every single thing? What's causing this? Is it tomatoes? Is it almond milk? Is it freaking chemtrails? Is it... I mean, that's the thing. I gave up the vaping, gave up the drinking. So let's eliminate the big toxins first. I also had 14 mercury fillings as well, and those were removed about 10 years ago now. But the damage, I think, is done. So sorry to moan about my health. God. Oh, this is what I wanted to rant about, actually, because when I think about it, the reason that, because it's a very common thing now, acid reflux, people don't know they have it. It's not just about heartburn, but it's mainly about the diet. You know, that the Western diet now is fast food, because anything that's got preservatives in it is got ascorbic acid, which is it's vitamin C, yes, but any canned and preserved foods are all going to be they're all heavily acidic. So we're all eating diets that are very acidic anyway. So cooking from fresh, and I didn't realise also frozen foods are acidic, and cooking foods makes it acidic. So anyway, it can't do any harm, I suppose, doing this diet. And I suppose I've only been on it for about a week, and I'm just miserable because I'm missing all my glass of wine with my meal. Mainly, not that I was a big alcoholic, but that was a nice thing, it's a nice treat. So, and also the vaping. So yeah, I suppose I'm detoxing from all that. So maybe this is the time for a detox, and anyone else who's going through it, push through. I'm going to push through with this. I am, because I think it's important to reset the liver. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'll let you know how it's going on, or whether it made any difference. You'll probably hear it in my voice. But I don't know if it sounds any better. But yes, going back to the Western diet and how people don't cook things from scratch anymore. I mean, I know someone who was a single guy and lived on takeaways. His health got really, really bad. And now I'm thinking that's probably why. And again, if you're not in family units where cooking is a full-time thing, you know, it's hard work to cook from scratch all the time. And if the mother in the house is working, then how can she do that? How can she do that? I mean, I'm lucky I work from home, but even then it's still, to get fresh fruit and veg all the time, I'm going to go back to getting the organic box delivered, because they will. Before I couldn't finish the vegetables, but now when you give up you know, the filling stuff like pasta, you need to fill up with veggies. So that's going to be a good thing, isn't it? Really. But yeah, it's Western lifestyles are destroying us through not giving us healthy food and living on tinned stuff. And I just think, you know, why didn't we need rubbish collection? The amount of rubbish that's collected now, they didn't have that in Victorian times. They probably didn't have hardly anything to recycle, because everything was freshly bought and taken home in brown paper bags, and there was no packaging. So these are the things that we should be thinking about instead of CO2. That's an easy thing to, you know, lying in the road, stopping traffic. There's so much more, and that's the least of it, really. I think if everyone, it's hard, you know, if everyone just ate food that was fresh and didn't do fast food and didn't do packaged food, then I don't know. I think the world would be better off for it. But that's one solution. What was the other thing I wanted to talk about? Oh yeah. Yes, the movement of people as well. I mean, I've talked about this before, but the outsourcing of labour. This is the thing that Greta Thunberg didn't talk about, was, you know, China outsourcing to factories in China and then shipping them back. The carbon footprint must be huge. So if we made things locally, everything would be so much better. And growing things locally, fruit and veg is maturing en route, so it's not maturing in the sun, so it's not getting as much sun and vitamin C or whatever it gets from the sun for as long as possible because of the journey times. So that's another thing to think about. So instead of going around, how dare you, and you're stealing my future, you should think about the more diet. That's the biggest thing. Fruit and vegetables, and yeah, meat as well. You know, I'm not a vegan or anything, but have less of it. We don't have to eat so much meat. We can still eat meat, but in small amounts. I mean, that's why people get better sometimes when they move to a vegetarian diet, because they were eating so much bad meat with all the antibiotics and chlorinated chicken in them, and that's why people get better. But things like bone broth are so good for you. So yeah, so this is all about diet this week. I don't know why I called it Green with Envy in the end. Oh, because Cassiopeia she boasted about her daughter Andromeda being the fairest of them all, and she can be a bit of a stage mother, so that would be sort of like jealousy of other people's daughters, and is my daughter prettier than that daughter, and blah blah blah. It's going to be eat your greens. That's what I'm doing, and yeah, and hopefully that will help purge out all the toxins that have maybe built up over the year. And it's an ideal time because, yeah, Christmas comes along and then everyone starts indulging again, and then they do the detox in January. But I'm going to do the detox now, and hopefully be strong enough to have a turkey or whatever at Christmas and a bit of cranberry sauce and even a glass of wine. All right then, so thanks for listening, all the best, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.